President Trump claims the ceasefire in Iran is still on, despite the fact that it's literally indistinguishable from active combat. But that doesn't mean that Iran is slowing down even a little. Let's break this one down. So, the in the last 24 hours, we have had for a period of ceasefire the an absolutely insane amount of combat. First off, 2 hours ago, U.S. officials said that they launched a series of airstrikes targeting empty oil tankers that attempted to return to Iran. These are outside of the strait, outside of the U.S. naval blockade. But then 4 hours ago, the UAE's defense ministry said that two ballistic missiles and three drones were fired at Dubai from Iran. Now, there's also 5 hours ago reports of an additional series of U.S. airstrikes against the town of Bandar Abbas in Keshem, southern Iran. This is notable because this is likely one of the bases of Iranian fast attack boats and other ballistic missiles technology that they use to target civilian shipping vessels that do not transit the Strait of Hormuz as Iran demands. 9 hours ago, of course, the UAE reported they had also been fired upon with a single missile and drone and an unnamed number of drone attacks coming from Iranian territory. And then 10 hours ago, two U.S. destroyers have the U.S. Navy confirmed that two U.S. destroyers had transited the Strait of Hormuz on two separate occasions this week, including just a few hours ago, and that U.S. forces in both instances took significant missile and ship fire, and that resulted in airstrikes in return. President Trump, of course, described these series of attacks as what he called a love tap. He said it's just a love tap. When asked if it means the ceasefire is over, he said, no, the ceasefire is going, it's in effect. Again, 18 hours ago, the U.S. military confirming, saying our forces have carried out defensive strikes against Iranian military installations.
Ceasefire. Shalom, Koholo, Yahabashim, Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom, the apostles, and the bishops of great millstone, even the elders that came before them, that taught us this truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word of truth and in sincerity, hopeful like tabernacle of David. The elder Yahshua back with the WW3 Daily update. Shalom and salutations to you all. Ceasefire. Let's deal with that right now. What happened? Oh, what? Ceasefire, nigga. Ceasefire deals with peace. Peacefire. Ceasefire. And safety. What is that? 1 Thessalonians? First Thessalonians 5 and 3 in the NLT. When people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pains begin, and there will be no escape. Okay, so there's your peace and safety. There's your ceasefire. Waving a white flag. And what has ceasefire and peace talks really done? It's set up that strike. That's what this is saying. Suddenly strike them. Look at that. Suddenly strike them. But destruction will suddenly strike them. Right? What are they doing? How many times? Let's ask this question. I got in trouble. How many times? How many times has the West used peace, negotiation, as a cover for immediate strike against Iran? Question mark. Now, 2 to 3 at least. All news, 2 to 3 at least. Based on reports from the 2025 to 26 conflict period, Iranian officials and various commentators have accused the United States and Israel of using peace negotiations as cover or green light for immediate strikes on at least 2 major distinct occasions involving significant military action. Woo. And then it lists them. It says, key instances reporting during this period include Operation Midnight. That's a whole operation. Operation Epic Fury. Ceasefire breaches. My goodness, guys. Yeah, crazy. It's stupid. Slock it. Group conversations popping up at work. Yeah, this is just crazy. So, yeah, this is peace and safety right here. Right? Even in this particular, look, Iranian officials, in this particular war or conflict, if you will. Okay? So, I mean, that's crazy in and of itself.
Guys, if any part of this sounds like a ceasefire to you, I'm all ears. But really, what we are looking at here seems to be
a way to strike and catch a nigga off guard.
more like well, not a ceasefire. That I'll tell you.
Tactics.
The American military actually confirms that it carried out self-defense strikes in Iran in response to what it called unprovoked Iranian attacks. This is, of course, sort of stupid, as and I love the U.S. military and I hate Iran, and even I'm going to sit there and admit that unprovoked attacks is not how we should characterize this, because
we were able to save.
So that's crazy. Unprovoked attacks. What do we got? Let's get this real quick. Second, this is 13. Set it up at least. And let's go back over here real quick.
Being able to pull data down, my data.
Sailing 2 ships into the Strait of Hormuz when Iran said, if you sail through the strait, we will fire upon you. That is provoking an attack. Again, I don't think Iran should be closing the strait. I don't like Iran. But this is like driving a car into the Ukrainian gray zone and then saying we were hit by an unprovoked drone attack. I mean, come on, man. The very notion of cause and effect here. But the U.S. Navy missile destroyers that transited the Strait of Hormuz to the Gulf of Oman reported, quote, Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats against the USS Truxtun, USS Rafael Peralta, the USS Mason, as they transited the international sea passage. CENTCOM said in a statement, it intercepted the inbound threats and no U.S. assets were struck. In response, CENTCOM says it targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces, targeting including missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance nodes. And then it said, CENTCOM doesn't seek escalation, but will protect American interests. Okay, so this is, again, the whole thing is kind of absurd at this point because, well, this is exactly, by the way, guys, it's actually more intensive than the period of actual war between the sides, in which U.S. aircraft struck targets inside of Iran that were, well, missile and drone sites, command and control nodes, and key military sites. And then the Iranians, of course, launched drones and ballistic missiles at the UAE and other U.S. allies. The escalation is that instead, the Iranians are also directly attacking U.S. naval vessels, not just U.S. Navy bases. Now, before we talk about what Iran is doing to make sure that to formalize its assertion of control over the Strait of Hormuz, I want to mention, guys, that if you feel a little bit like the U.S. Navy and you just have to transit these dangerous, or difficult spots over and over again, I get it. I'm a dad to two young kids, but we've got something in your corner. Not as good as a missile interceptor, but well, frankly, I don't think the U.S. has many of those either. We've got strike gum, 90 milligrams caffeine, 100 milligrams alpha GPC.
All right, buddy. Let's get this one. Second is 13 and start at 28. 19. 28. 29, behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another one, city against another one, place against another one, people against another one, realm against another. That's what we're seeing. In a crazy fashion. This nigga's selling gun right now, so let me go back. I think there was one more I wanted to take a peek at, too, see? And Salakia, bear with me on the ridiculous phone conversation over there. Look at 2C real quick. So the strait is on fire, clearly.
Well,
now 2C is right leaning. Okay, he is an Iranian. He's a they call him Elamite. He's an Elamite, but he's not on the side of what they call the regime. He's against them. So.
To 2C TV, this is your global news channel. Amaya 2C and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are running out of oil storage. They've also lost one of the major defense centers around the Persian Gulf, as the US military have now hit and disabled a number of Iranian ships. There's a lot that's happened over the last few hours since our last update on the conflict in the Middle East, which was probably around 24 hours ago, actually. We have had a number of hits today, especially from the IRGC sides towards the UAE and inside the Strait of Hormuz. But
is there a ceasefire or not?
So there is a lot of other weird things happening, including the claim by the so-called president of the Islamic Republic, Masoud Pezeshkian, who said that he met with the cardboard supreme leader, Moshtaba Khamenei.
Yeah, we made a deal. We had a ceasefire talks, and then they never really happened.
Mentioned that last night. We have some update on that so-called meeting because it didn't happen.
Peace talks. Oh no, the ceasefire is still going. See, they're making up their own dialogue, their own narrative.
Anyway, let's talk about what we know so far. There's been a few things over the last few hours. As expected, the blockade by the US Navy in the Strait of Hormuz is doing its job. The damage is extremely visible now because oil spillage is now happening. They are dumping their oil because they're running out of storage, the Iranian regime. By the way, this is obviously environmentally problematic, but Greta Thunberg and all these Greens, they are very, very quiet about this. They don't really care about the environmental issues when it comes to dictatorships. First, let's go to the follow-up from last night's strikes and attacks from all sides, US military. Early hours of this morning, Bandar Abbas, which is the main port in the southern parts of Iran, had a number of hits by the US side.
U.S. hits. So they're over there lighting up different parts of Iran. Clearly.
So this is in Bandar Abbas. Now, following this, we then started getting some updates about what the Islamic Republic have been doing inside the Persian Gulf. They are dumping the oil into the sea, of course. Now, as predicted and expected, the regime in Iran are running out of oil storage capacity. For the past couple of days, they have been obviously transferring these tankers that can't really be, they can't leave the region because the U.S. Navy continued the blockade. So they've decided to obviously now, well, they have no other choice really, but to dump the oil in the sea. And again, they are poisoning everything. This is what they call the ecocide. And as expected, Greta Thunberg is very quiet. They don't really care much about the IRGC doing this. It's the same thing with basic evil acts. For example, if you sexually assault somebody and violate someone's body, it's a bad thing. But if you are an Islamist doing it, it's called resistance. Same thing with environmental damages. If you do it, it's a bad thing. But if you are the Islamic regime and you're doing environmental damage, it's called resistance.
So as we can see, the war's in full effect, just getting started, as a matter of fact. So we'll keep our eye on it. Again, this is Second Ezra's 13:31. One shall undertake to fight against another one, city against another one, place against another one, people against another one, realm against another. This is Sirach 5:15. Sirach 5. Right. Yeah, we'll keep our eye on it. Be not ignorant of anything in the great matters. Well, we'll keep our eye on it.